Goodness. Today we have
Lizette Santiago
and Danny McDermott.
So first of all, I would like you to please introduce yourselves. One thing I know about you that you love science, so I want to start with that. I know you have an engineering background and you have a science background, but you are actors.
Yes.
So let's go ahead and tell our audience.
I'm an actor first, but we host our own podcast show too. I'm also a voiceover actor. Oh God, the list goes on and on and on. I was an on-air DJ for a little bit.
We only had 20 minutes ago.
I know. But yes, I studied science for 2.5 years. I majored in marine biology and I also majored in psychobiology. I switched over because I got more interested in psychobiology, which is actually the study of animal and human behavior. So, and then.
So I got my engineering degree, but while I was ceramic engineering, not bunnies and toilets, superconductors, bioceramic implants, that kind of thing. I got my engineering, while I was doing that, I got the lead in plays and got into theater and, went to New York, produced comedy there, changed the face of New York comedy a little bit because they never had the street teams before. I had people out there passing out flyers and trying to get people in off the street. They never did that before. So that changed because of me. I had like 5 different comedy rooms running.
And you mentioned too, babe, you got your engineering degree, but then you switched over and became an actor. I started acting when I was very young, at 3 years old. My mom's a stage mom, and she got me into acting when I was 3. Did beauty pageants, then I got into commercial classes, and I got a manager at 6 years old. Then I got an agent too, and I got my first callback when I was 8, I think, for a motion picture movie. But back then, we had answer machines. I'm dating myself too much, but if you missed a call, you would miss it, the audition completely and stuff. So, but I actually did that for so long and decided when I went away to college, I was going to quit the business. At 17, I decided, I've been in this business for a while, and I had to think to myself, am I doing this for my mother's sake, or am I doing it for myself? So I had to take a step back, and I wanted to pursue acting, but I needed to really understand if that was something for me, or should I try something else? So that's why when I went to college, I was actually doing marine bio, and I happened to pass by the theater in my school, and I was reading they were auditioning this play called Psycho Beach Party, and I was like, I've never heard of that.
It was a movie.
Yeah, it was based on the movie and everything like that. So,
right.
So I was like, I've never heard of that, but it sounds cool. It sounds like fun and blah blah. And this guy comes out and he says, "Oh, you find that interesting, right?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Oh, are you gonna audition for it?" And I was like, "No, I don't do that anymore." He's like, "What do you mean anymore?" I was like, "I used to be a kid, acted as a kid and stuff, but I don't want to do it anymore. I'm a science major now." So he was like, "Okay." And lo and behold, I had to pick at my college another elective or another subject, and so I picked acting 101. I said, well, that's an easy A for me, So I did that. But the funny thing is, the first day of my class, the same guy that saw me reading that was the professor. I didn't know who he was, but he was the professor of my acting 101 class. And he remembered my name, and he goes, "Miss Santiago, right? Was that?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Ha ha ha." So remember that audition you were reading outside? I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "If you don't audition for it, you're gonna fail this class." So I auditioned for it, and then I booked a part in the play. And then since that point, I was like, I can't get away from acting. Acting is my life, So.
Me too. Yeah, I decided to start writing too. So I just wrote a short horror called Party Panda.
Awesome. It's a comedy or?
There's comedy in it, but it's pretty dark too. It's basically the birth of a serial killer. So yeah.
Based on his true life. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm kidding.
Thanks, babe. Cops are on their way.
The project is called Searching for Goodness.
Right.
Yes. Killer goes
Love
on
that
a little bit of the realm of evil.
Yeah.
So let's get back to goodness. What do you think goodness is, and how do you, as people, do you think contribute to goodness? What do you expect from people for goodness, and what can we do for the world?
Well, yeah. I'll go first.
Okay.
Whenever I meet someone who who I'm going to work with possibly or anything like that, I don't care how powerful they are. Can I swear? Or not?
I mean, there's a little part
if they're then I say I don't allow bad people in my life, basically. So I tell people right to their face, right up front, I only allow good people in my life because life is too short, and I've been under the thumb of powerful people before, and never again. You know what I mean? And so to me, goodness is having respect for people, respect for the planet, respect for just caring, being thoughtful, being in the moment, and just don't do bad things. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I mean, that's a lot of it.
Yeah, and to add to that too, I think goodness is just what the word says, just being good, just being real, being good to people, respecting every person around you.
Integrity.
I mean, the truth of the matter is we're not going to like every single person we meet, or we're going to have judgments when we first meet somebody and blah, blah. But when you give people a chance and you're good to them, at least respect them. That's what I've always been taught by my parents. It's just, you never know who that person may be the next day, So always be good, put out goodness out there. Always put out goodness out there. And I feel like the world of attraction and universe and stuff, it'll come back to karma, Like, there have been times where I don't want to be good because I'm in a bad mood, or,
True story.
I'm not in the mood. I don't want to be good to anybody. I'm just going to be, bad. Not to say I'm bad, but it just, no, I don't want to deal with anything today. I'm not going to be the angel that I like to be on a daily basis or whatever. And you get in those moods. We all have those funks. But then I get guilty. And then I'm just like, oh my God, I was so rude to that girl. I was so rude to that guy. I'm like, that is not, my guilt starts to come in. I'm like, that's not me. I'd rather be good. And I know a lot of people in the entertainment world, we have tendencies to step on other people's feet to get ahead in the world and stuff. And I said, you know what? I'd rather let it take me forever to be where I want to be in this business, but I want to do it the good way, on the good path,
What you said is on spot because, I try to be a good person too, a good daughter, a good friend, but we all have that anger, something happens and you lose yourself. I start yelling at my mom, and then that guilt you said, or someone I love, anybody, like it just happens. I think it has a lot to do with self-control, learning about self-control, self-discipline.
I think
we're human too. We're human,
I think what a lot of it is knowing your triggers.
Right.
And when you're about to launch into it, you got to kind of scratch the record, like interrupt it somehow. This is a big self-help thing. Tony Robbins talks about it, but it's true. It's true. You got to catch yourself when it's starting and distract yourself. It's like when you have a addiction to coffee or something that's not that bad. When you want to quit, you go to the store, you see it, you just turn your head. And sometimes that's all it takes. So, it's hard to do sometimes, obviously, driving in LA.
Right.
Yeah, especially driving in LA.
Oh my God. I almost went to Lamaze instructor to learn how to breathe while I'm driving in traffic.
Yeah, and goodness, I feel, is also like something that's spiritual. Each person has their own definition for what goodness is in their life, For some people, I don't know if you ever read this book, The 5 Love Languages.
I heard about it. Maybe from you.
Maybe it's from me. It's a great book, but it teaches you everyone has their own love language. For me personally, I love gifting people. I like buying people gifts. So whenever we get invited to a birthday party, or whenever, the Buddhist way too, whenever I go to somebody's house or invited any place, I always bring something, like coffee or something.
Yeah, she's taught me that. I mean, it's surprising how a tiny little gift, a knick-knack, anything, just the fact that you brought them something makes them love you.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean?
And I also think goodness has to do with love. The
Absolutely.
more we love, the more we care, and the more we love, the more good we are. So I think people need to learn to love more.
Yep.
And we're talking about having respect. If you have, like, when you're driving, somebody drives like a crazy person, you get upset, right? But you don't know them. If you respect someone, then it's harder for you. It's easier for you to forgive them.
Right.
So it's easier for you to not get that upset if you really just remember, I respect them. They're not a stranger. You know, I'm not going to let that anger, and just, you know, give them a break, because you got to give me a break too when I'm an idiot. You know what I mean?
And like you said too, you feel like goodness is love. And that's why I was relating to that, the love languages, because everyone has a different, like I feel his love language is like, he gives compliments to people. I'm not really good verbally giving compliments. Like I'm like, if I give you a compliment, better take it, because that means I'm really honest about it. But I live by that pattern of, you have nothing nice to say, don't say anything at all kind of thing. But I do it with gifts, giving people gifts. And even, like you said, like, it shows that people that you care about them, but people I don't even know, like for the first time, I met a lot of people through him, and I brought him gifts the first time I met them, but I never knew who they were, I didn't know their taste, but I was like, what are they into? What do they like? Tell me a little bit about
Yeah,
them.
she really puts a lot of thought into it.
I put thought, because that's the way I express my love, through that. And when it brings a smile to their face, or they really enjoy it, I'm like, that makes me feel that that's a form of goodness, you know? Like,
and not a lot of people do that. I mean, she's one of the few people I've ever met in my life that, like, oh, we're going to their place for whatever, and she goes, oh, let's get a gift for them. And I'm like, what? But it's a lot of times just something simple. You know?
I just like to shop. I use it as an excuse.
Yes.
I get it. I was like that when I was growing up. Whenever my family used to give me a little allowance, I would like spend all my money buying gifts.
I know. See,
I grew up not very different.
Your probably love language is gift giving too. I mean, there's so many different ones, but yeah, but goodness is just being good, right?
It's been good. It's been good. We didn't get into it so much, and then there's jealousy factor. Different kinds of jealousy that takes people to a dark place.
Mm-hmm.
Anger. Mm-hmm. Hanger. You're gonna not let people be hangry.
Hangry. Food, people don't realize it. Especially, don't ever drive on an empty stomach. Ever. Ever. Because it really messes you up.
Yeah.
You know?
And speaking of science, there's a science thing right there. What causes that imbalance in you chemically, that when you don't eat, it triggers some of your emotional being?
Yeah.
There's science in that too. That's why I love science.
Going back to science, since you're actors and you have a scientific background, like what's your thoughts on spirituality and science? How do you think they interconnect?
That's a great question, and I actually wrote a little bit about it in college, because I've had the experience of, I grew up, my background is a Puerto Rican and French descent.
Nice.
I mostly relate to my Spanish Puerto Rican background. So with that being said, my family is very religious. You know, the only vegan in my family, the only one who doesn't eat meat. They don't understand that, you know.
Did you say it doesn't meat eat?
Yeah. It's like,
This is what I meant.
this is, now I need food. No. So,
It's funny.
but my family is very religious, especially my grandpa, and we grew up in a very religious environment. So for me, having taken the dive into science, and I love science since I was a kid. I loved acting my whole life, but I've always had an interest for science ever since I was a child. Matter of fact, when I was 9 years old, I was interviewed by National Geographic magazine. I did a science fair with my elementary school kids. We were animal activists back then, so young. We were all, it's just so weird how my class, we were all science students. It was a science-based school, elementary school. And we were all into science, but we had a love for animals, all my classmates. And we were tired of getting all these frogs dissected, all these living beings. You know, yeah, they're frogs. But they're frogs. They're still a living being.
Right.
And we didn't like the fact that you always had to just dissect them for, lab science classes and stuff like that. And it's like, it's horrific for a kid that young and stuff. And me seeing a frog there, and they had so many of them. One time it was like a cooler of frogs in there. And I'm
They do.
It just broke my heart. I'm like, I think there's gotta be another way that we can show what we gotta show without killing this creature, you know?
Right.
So all my classmates, and we're all friends, and we just talked, we all felt the same way. And it's like, there's gotta be. And then computers were becoming more and more popular. My school had tons of them. And we were like, how can we do this? Maybe we can do it digitally on the computer or something. Little brains that we had, the science class of mine. And we said, wow, what if we create a program where we can dissect a frog digitally? And we would never have to kill any animal again. So we did. It was a science project. We all took part of it. We did it. Our teachers helped us. And then we entered in a lot of science fairs, and we won all of them for our presentation. And I was chosen, me and the principal's son, we were both chosen to be the presenters, the hosts, the event and stuff like that. They chose us. They're like, you guys are the voice behind this, so you host this. Even back then, I like to host, you know? And one day we hosted this huge science fair at our elementary school this time, our home base, and we won. And this guy comes up to me, he starts talking to me, and he was asking me about what he got going here, was this project, and I told him and stuff, and blah, blah. Little did I know that he was a journalist from National Geographic magazine. So he just interviewed me, took a picture of me, blah, blah. Never, thought, a lot of people were doing that in the science fair, taking pictures of us, whatever, didn't think anything of it. When I was in junior high school, I also went to Academy of Environmental Sciences. It was another specialized junior high school. And we studied environmental and global sciences there. And one day my principal calls me to the office. She's like, I come into the office, there's something I need to talk to you about. I was like, okay. She said, she handed me the letter. She said, congratulations. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, National Geographic magazine is going to feature you as part of your science fair that you did in elementary school. And she was so proud, and my whole school was proud. I'm like, wow, our little science project that we did we were told to be the prodigy kids of our community. I grew up in Spanish Harlem in New York City, and not many people, unfortunately, when you come from, you're an inner city kid, they just feel like you're not going to make it in life and stuff. And they chose me and the principal's son as being the next prodigies to come out of Spanish Harlem in that.
And then she started dating me.
And then I started dating him years later. But anyway, yeah. So that's the science part there.
So spirituality, going back to that.
I'm going to throw you guys one more question.
Okay.
Once we talk about frogs and animals,
Uh-huh.
you can connect what you're going to say to this.
Okay.
Birds. We ask everyone about birds.
Birds.
It's my ode to Hitchcock, birds. But everyone tells a different story about birds, and I want to hear what you guys have to say about that.
I joined a bird watchers club when I was a kid.
Really?
I did, and I had a book, and I still know a lot of the birds' names when I look around, but I always loved birds. Birds always fascinated me.
Mm-hmm.
They, the music that they do in the morning, I don't know if you know this, but they sing in the morning because they're still kind of safe from predators. And that's one of the things that you don't realize. There's a reason they do it. So they communicate, they sing, they talk to each other, that kind of thing. And I've always loved birds. But yeah, I was going to talk about the spirituality, but now I'm with birds.
You can connect to spirituality. I mean, I just remember when I was a kid, we went to London a few times, and in London it was quite a thing.
A lot of birds.
Yeah.
Everybody was watching birds. It was very interesting to me. It's a hobby up there. It's big over there.
Have you ever been chased by a goose? It's not fun.
By a goose? No.
Yes, yes. I got chased by a goose once when I was a kid, and they don't let up.
Oh, wow.
You gotta get in a car or something to get away.
That explains a lot about
Does it?
about your fears now.
I have no fear.
My brother had a bird. His name was Artie. We thought it was a boy. It turned out it was a girl. So Artie, and we changed it. But he had a bird, and he had a cockatoo. The little ones, not the big one, the cockatoo. Cockatail.
I have parakeets.
Cockatoo, yeah. And he had that bird. She died, unfortunately, but my brother loved that bird so much, and she'd always fly to our
They live a long
shoulders.
time, right?
They lived like 25 years
Yeah,
or
yeah,
more.
yeah.
Parrots live. Wow, they can live 30, I think.
No, they can live 75.
75?
Yep.
Yeah, they can outlive us humans.
Oh, wow, that's the pet to get.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is a pet to get, but then remember, you gotta leave it to someone in your will, because
If you don't live long
if you
enough.
if we got it right now, it would live
That's
longer
right.
than us. So
So it's
Right.
really interesting though, because my brother had his bird, and I love cats and dogs. I mean, cats especially, and dogs. But my brother had a fetish, and lizards. I love lizards. My brother had a fetish for
fetish.
I mean, stop doing that to me. My brother had a passion for birds. He loved birds, and I was never really into birds, but because of him, I loved this bird and blah blah. And my brother passed away in June from cancer. And so,
Yeah.
thank you. It's hard, but every time I'm like out and walking and stuff, crows. There's so many crows in LA, but they're constantly like yelling at me and following me. Like the other day, I was walking and I saw an owl at night, and not a crow, but an owl, and he was like going through all the trees and stuff. And I'm like, why are all these birds following me lately, and they say that crows or ravens warn you of things to happen, and they were doing that before my brother died. And I said, I got to get to my brother because I feel like these birds are trying to tell me something, you know. So, and now they're still following me, and I feel like maybe my brother is reincarnated through a bird now because he loved birds. So it's crazy that you mentioned birds, and that's just.
Next question. You said you're a vegan,
Mm-hmm.
and I know somehow veganism is connected to environment.
Yes.
Can you explain to us, like, what does being vegan mean from a scientific environment? How do you help the environment by being vegan, and spiritually, what do you think that you do by doing that?
So, for the most part, veganism started from Buddhism. You know, they're mostly vegan and stuff like that.
So they think cows are holy. Right?
Yes, they think cows are holy, and also too, they feel like if you eat meat, that you're uncleansing your body. It's like
very dirty girl.
oh, I know.
Me too.
So they feel like it just weighs you down when you have meat. So being vegan in the spiritual aspect is healthier to just keep your body, you know, cleansed and clean of all food. Because the thing is, most people get sick sometimes from red meat. Red meat is the worst part. Not so much chicken and turkey, but red meat is supposed to be not so great.
Our meat only is chicken, for instance.
Yeah. The white meat is good, but the red meat is the one where you get the high cholesterol and, you know, the blood pressure and all that stuff. So, yeah, in the spiritual world, that's why they don't like to eat. That's why they like to be vegan, because it just keeps your body cleansed and free from all the toxins.
What age were you when you became vegan?
Wow, I was vegetarian first when I was 17, turning 18.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I could never process red meat, you know, which is weird because I'm O positive and we're supposed to be meat eaters, but I just couldn't process meat. So at 17, 18, I stopped eating red meat completely. I was just doing chicken and fish. I didn't like fish much, but I was doing a little bit. And then when I hit 18, a couple of my girlfriends and stuff were like, you know, why don't we try being vegetarians and stuff? But you have to do it healthily, because there are times when people just cut everything out right away. It's a gradual thing to do it.
And it's harder for men.
Thing. Yeah, it is harder for men.
Men need animal vitamins and animal, you know, they do. We do.
Yeah.
We need them more than women do.
Yeah, and even women too. We need to make sure we're getting enough iron in our bodies and stuff. That's why you have to take a lot of multivitamins and stuff when you do it, so make sure you do it healthy. Going vegan is harder to do immensely. Speaking of environment, like I live in LA. I'm from New York. So those are two places where being vegan, it's easier to do it because there's so many options for us that are healthy. If you go to a different state, and I used to travel, I used to be a commercial model, so I used to travel across the US, and going to places like Tennessee or like Utah, it's harder to find options, you know? So, but your environment can affect your diet too in that sense, you know? This is a perfect place here in LA, it's a perfect place to be a vegan or vegetarian.
I was a vegan for a year, and it was okay. But then I decided to become pescatarian, which is where you just have fish.
Which is also good. That's also good.
But you know, I don't know if you realize what vegan means in Native American. It means bad hunter. I'm just.
No, he's a comedian.
I did a lot of jokes about veganism because my ex became vegan after we got together, and so it was really tough for me. And I made jokes like, "Yeah, I signed her up for the Bacon of the Month Club, so she'd come home and find bacon every day and scream." And
also, too, it's also for me personally. I chose to be vegetarian and vegan because I was doing the tour, blah blah. But also, I started getting a lot of stomach problems. I had to take pills every day for my stomach, and I couldn't process things. And I had surgery, my gallbladder, I had gallstones, and my bladder was removed, and so my system doesn't function like a regular human being does. So for me, I did it. I had a friend, and she was like, "If you do a vegan diet, it's gonna help you. You're gonna want to get off of that medicine eventually. So do this, and then it might help you." And sure enough, I decided to go vegan. Did it once, and I did it unhealthy, and I ended up in the doctor's office, and it wasn't taking my vitamins. I was really strict about it. There weren't many options. It was a little bit tougher back then, and I was lacking a lot of that. My doctor was like, "Do me a favor, please have a piece of salmon once a week, just a little bite." And I'm like, no. Because I got sick off the sand, like food poisoning twice, so I don't know what they're injecting, or salmon lately, but.
I think it
I
was
got
probably just,
lectured one time about a vegan friend. I had a director, Turkish director, who told me for and it went on and on. I was affecting the agriculture and all this like emissions and this and that, and I even considered it. But I'm not there yet. Because of my project, I feel like at some point I'm going to feel the pressure and I'm going to have to turn vegan.
well,
but I'm not there
I
yet.
grew up in a family of hunters.
Oh.
So like they had a deer, everyone all the time they had a deer in the garage hanging, and they gutted it in front of me and stuff like that. So and one thing that's true about eating meat is if you eat like wild animals, it's healthy. But if you eat animals in the store, processed from farms, so like they feed them garbage, they inject hormones, all kinds of stuff that's really bad for you. But I grew up hunting. I never shot a deer, but I did some small game hunting, rabbits, squirrels, stuff like that. And there was a couple times I just my brother shot this squirrel way up in the tree. And yes, people eat squirrels. And yeah,
That's something I'll never do.
they taste like chicken. But
Excuse me.
the thing was, he shot it, and it's bird shot, right? So it's tiny little pellets, right? And he got him, and the squirrel just tumbled and fell and was running around the ground screaming, and I felt so bad. And I lost my taste for hunting. I never really, I was just trying to do it because it was a man thing. It's, 4 brothers, all my family hunted. And, I said, why?
Have you seen that movie?
Which-
Father?
No.
Father.
No.
There's a movie.
Oh, powder, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the guy like holds the deer.
Yep,
Yep.
And he brings it back to life, yeah. Yep.
I just can't imagine doing that.
No, I can
mean,
never.
it's the way you're raised. I mean, to us it's horrific, but if you were raised in a different environment, family thinks it's a normal thing. And
Like if I lived in the wilderness and stuff like that,
yeah.
I might do it because it's actually better. Like anybody who says that hunters are bad, and then they go to the supermarket and buy meat, it's just you're a hypocrite, because that's way worse. These animals, at least hunters, the animals are living free their whole lives.
Right.
The animals that's like animal Auschwitz.
Right.
The animals from the supermarket. So
And I was also going to say too, because he mentioned this, it's like, and you said it too, it's like, they're used to what they're used to, eating the meat. If veganism was introduced into more households, good meals and stuff like that, maybe more people would be more, open to it and stuff. That's why every time we go to a party, I like to, first of all, there's never food I can eat.
yes, we gotta bring vegan
So
stuff.
we always
every
have to
time.
bring vegan stuff, but that's fine. I love cooking. It's therapeutic for me. And I'll always cook something and I bring it. And every single dish I cook to a party and stuff goes like that. Everybody was like, "What is this? This is amazing. This is so delicious. How did you do it?" Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, "It's vegan. This is vegan." And I'm like, "My God, yeah, that's the thing. People just need to be introduced to how to eat good. Because some people think, oh, it's vegan. It tastes nasty. It has no taste. Blah blah blah." Not my cooking.
We've learned together. We've made a lot of different vegan dishes. I'm kind of vegan by osmosis now. I still
has a steak every now and then.
I still eat meat, but not as much. And
I want to go back to one question. We're going to say something about spirituality. I want to get that too. And if there's anything you guys want to say about artificial intelligence, that's another topic we touch on, and then we can wrap it up before the sun goes down. Let this be the last question because it's slowly going down.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
so spirituality. What I was going to say before was I really believe. I mean, being in science, I studied Schrodinger's wave equation to try to determine. It's basically an equation to try to determine where an electron is. It's almost impossible to find exactly where an electron is within an atom. And the one thing that we learned is that the microscopic particles, electrons, they behave differently when they're observed. So it's almost like there's a consciousness even in these tiny particles. And this is true. You can look it up. It's called the slit experiment, and shoot electrons through, they behave differently. At any rate, I just believe that there is consciousness in almost everything, and I believe that we go on for sure, but I don't know how it's going to be as far as your consciousness and all that kind of stuff.
Can I add to that too? Like, I studied, as I told you, psychobiology, which not many people know about, but it's a study of animal and human behavior, and has a lot to do with the conscious thoughts and patterns of a human as they relate to that of an animal. And what I discovered in my studies of both of them for 2 years was that animals and humans, though we have different habits and stuff, all of us just really want the same things. Love is always the answer. Like, animals want to be loved. They want someone to care for them. You know, they want to love their cubs, their significant others. They mate in the wild. You know,
and your energy affects the animal, even if you don't speak. Your energy, your nervousness, your whatever affects the animal. If you're happy and you're smiling, they're happy.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with people. You know, you're next to someone, your energy affects them.
Mm-hmm.
It deeply affects them, and I don't think people really are conscious of that.
So we can't say we gotta really love ourselves to be able to give that love out to the world, right? Like
Absolutely.
we gotta have light within us to be able to spread it.
Yeah, you got to connect with yourself. You got to connect, and that's why it's good to. I always say, if humans can study animals more, they can learn to love unconditionally, as an animal does. Animals just know how to love unconditionally.
Except for fish.
Humans, so fish are smart. Humans, there's some fish that are very highly intelligent.
Well, they're fish that
Look at the whales, and dolphins are super smart, and just so aware. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, I study marine bio, and it's like these fish are just beautiful, miracle beings, and we need to.
they're just like any other animal. They have happiness and stuff too. Because
Absolutely.
I when I was diving, I went diving off Bon Air, and it was my first time I got certified. And we're swimming, and this fish just started following us, and it was the cutest little. It was like our pet.
Yeah.
He followed us everywhere. It was,
Even sharks too have emotions, and maybe if we treat them better, they wouldn't be so angry and attack us.
There's a video on TikTok of this woman who pulled a thing out of a shark's mouth, a giant hook, and the shark is, every time she comes down, he comes and visits her, and she pets him, and
They're also just need love too.
Well, I don't know if they need it for me, but sharks.
Damn it. Okay.
Any last thoughts?
You were talking about AI. I don't fear it. I love technology. As a science person, I love the technology behind, how things work, and a new life form, and it's not somewhat of a new life form. But I just hope it doesn't attack us. I hope that it doesn't get so smart that it can start to ruin out the human life being source.
I'll tell you right now, it's scary to me how fast it's moving. They have no restrictions on it, and even if they did, people wouldn't listen. This is the problem with humans, No matter how good people want to be, people still throw litter in the hallway. They still do things they shouldn't do, and there will be especially absolute power corrupts humans. Absolutely. Okay?
Yeah.
And they're pushing this AI stuff, and I'll tell you, as a comedian, I was like, I'm a comedian. I'm not worried about that at all, man. They're never going to be able to do stand up. But all of a sudden, they put out this George Carlin AI thing. Now, I'm sure they edited it and everything, but it was like Middle America. If they didn't know it was AI, they would love it. They would love it. It's a great set. I hate to say it, but it's and this is in its infancy. Once it learns, like, it reads all the great screenwriters, and it'll just mix the styles, and it'll be writing scripts that they're not going to need us. They're not going to need us.
But the thing is, though, there's one thing, and someone else told me this: the passion, the love. AI can never replace the way a human being is emotionally.
No, but it can mimic it.
It can mimic it, but it'll never be the exact same thing. It's never going to be heartfelt. It's always going to be this robot that's
But the problem is
It's intelligent.
it can read the faces, it can read the expressions,
Right,
and it can make. Wait, let me finish. It can read. I've been watching this videos they're making now with one sentence. That looks like a real dog. You see emotion in that dog. It looks like they took a real video. And I'm telling you, once it learns, it sees every detail, and it's never gonna have ADD.
Yeah, but it'll never have a heartbeat. It'll never have.
I mean, I hope you're right.
My worry is they're gonna
I hope
replace
you're right,
humans, and the working class is gonna be in big danger. I mean, I just hope it's not gonna be abused by the powers, which I think.
Oh, it's definitely gonna be
I
abused.
just hope it
It's
was
definitely-
used for the better of good. Like, you know, I wanted AI to be more centered on improving things, especially in hospitals and, you know, all that technology,
Right.
but not to replace our everyday jobs.
All right. Well, thanks everyone. Keep watching us and watch their
Our show.
upcoming show.
yeah,
So where can they find you to watch?
Yeah, go ahead.
So Danny P. McDermott on Facebook, Danny McDermott LA on Instagram, and TikTok. You just find me. I don't know the exact thing.
Mine is Lizette Santiago on Facebook, at All About Lizette Santiago on Instagram, and then we have our podcast show, the
Okay, let's see if we can remember the
the
website.
DL. Well, we know the website, the DLShow.live, and then
There you
Instagram
go.
is the Download Show.
We say our slogan, goodness will win. Let's say that and
Absolutely.
wrap it up.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Goodness will win.